Okay, we're going to do some ring rolling today. Got this old rigid pipe threader and made myself a piece of pipe that'll go in the jaws there. And we've got some 3/8 solid round. Going to do some circles. This thing's got unbelievable amounts of torque. And it's hard to get her going in one spot. There we go. Okay, this gives me somewhere around 14 circles that'll end up being 5 3/4 inch diameter. So let's give her a try. Very, very fast. Watch for the end. If you go beyond this bar here, that thing will spring open and you'll end up losing your diameters. There, take the tension off it. And that's giving me 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13 circles. I just cut them with a cutting disc. It only took, 10 seconds to do that. And they're all consistent. I'll put them in a jig to make sure they're all perfect for a gate that I'm building. Here's a recap. I've rolled all my circles using the rigid threading machine. Lots of torque to bend this 3/8 solid round. I've cut most of the way through while it was on the bender. So now, built a little jig here that you can make sure all these circles are exactly the right size. So they fit in there and squeeze into here, push her in, and then take your vice grips and just lock it down so those two pieces are level, and just weld on the back side right there, just the back side of it. You don't have to weld this part up yet, because when you go to weld it to your pickets or your frame, you can fill that in then. Now what I did was made sure I drilled a good sized hole here for all my slag and crap to fall in there, and it's not sticking to my workbench. And it's easy to keep that clean again. You just take the wire wheel over top of that, or a buffing disc, and it's good to go. So now I've got here 37 circles. All of them are identical, and they're going to be at basically 5, just a hair under, 5 11/16 each one, but they're all identical, so that will give me even spacing. Now, not very often will your gate work out that you'll have a circle on both ends. So if you start in the middle and work your way towards each end, then you can, if you have to cut part of a circle, at least it'll be balanced on both ends. The only way to do that is if you don't have a specific length for your gate, and you can use full circles. And then if it'll fit wherever it has to go, then that's fine. But other than that, start from the center, work your way out both ways, and then you can just cut off what you need. So I will do an update later on part 3, whatever it is, and once I start fitting the gate together. Bye for now. Back again for part 3 of this lovely gate. Had the circles rolled, got them all cut, made them into jigs so they're all identical. And what I ended up doing here is I started exactly dead center of the gate and spaced all my pickets apart exactly the same. Now, because I had to go with a specific distance on the gate, I wasn't able to begin and start with a circle. So this is what will end up being on either end. And one end will have the hinge assembly coming through for adjustment. It looks better than ending up with a circle on one end and a half or a quarter circle on the other. So if you're doing this and you're measuring, do not measure between your pickets with a tape measure, because sooner or later you're going to screw up a 1/16 of an inch or whatever, and you'll do it 2 or 3 times and you'll be out a 1/4 inch on the end. So I made sure that I used the old adjustable set square there, I should say, and I use that top and bottom. And every once in a while I will check my dimensions from the end of the gate frame to make sure I'm on track. Because now these circles here, they all have to fit between, and I want them to be a snug fit. So now we got to center them within the outside dimension of the pickets. These are 3/4 inch pickets. So I built a little jig here that just clamps on right here, and put my circle in and put my weld up against the post, or pardon me, up against one of the pickets, so that when I weld it in, I'm covering up that weld. And now these are this snug. Every one just pushes down by hand, and then I just have to make sure that I have the right distances here as all of them. And I'm using again a smaller square to measure them all the same. So now on this one, what I have found over time, no matter whether you paint or powder coat or however else you finish this gate, is that unless you weld all the way around here on both sides, you're going to have a rust problem. Moisture will get in here and bleed down, or it'll show up top. So now on stuff like this, where this is just for ornamental looks, nothing for structure, is I am just welding here, and then on the other side I'm going to weld on the opposite, and I'm going to clean all this off really good. And I've got this really good silicone for exterior use, and I'm running a nice fine bead of silicone that seals all that. I've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years on gates, circles, anything that I can't get all the way around to weld, and I am having absolutely no problems with rust. And I haven't powder coated a gate yet. The last ones I did had nothing but rust problems, 6 months, 8 months into them. And then after trying to fix them now, get them re-sandblasted. So if I ever have issues with paint, I can go and right out on the spot and fix it. A little bit of sandpaper and some touch-up paint, and you're good again. So weld all these in, and I'll flip it over. And then underneath these circles here, there will be a piece of flat bar, 1 inch wide, sandwiching the circle. And I'm leaving this much of a gap. It's about a 1/2 inch gap, so that I can get in there to paint. If you put them up tight, now you've got more welding and this and that to contend with, more chances of rust. But when you do the plate that will go on top of the pickets and sandwich each side, you won't be welding here. So as long as you got room to get in there with your spray, with your paint, or however you want to finish it, powder coat, that way you've got lots of room to get a good coating on it. As long as it's even, it looks nice. And do it again on the bottom, same thing, there will be circles going. And they've doubled up on the smaller end there. I think they call them pet pickets, so they're little tiny husky Malamute can't get through. So, after I get these circles in, I shall put the rails in and give you another update. Oh yes, another real good tip is after you've welded all your pickets, is get in there with the wire wheel and your file and whatever and clean it all up before you put those circles in, or you'll be sorry trying to get stuff out. All these welds will all be ground down nice and flat. So yeah, and I'm doing this whole gate except for the posts on the end. It's all out of 065 light wall tubing. So guys, got to be real careful when you distribute your welds so that you don't get any warpage. And so far, everything is good. So that's all I can think of to tell you right now. It'll be done soon, and I'll show it to you finished. Talk to you later. Bye. Okay, notice the difference that the rails make going underneath the circles, and the bottom ones are in too. Nice welds. Got to make them look good for the customer. Make sure there's no pinholes. Got some heavy duty hinges here with adjustable. And here is the side. It's a 10-foot gate hanging on a single post that's attached to his foundation and to the driveway. And here's the hinges with grease nipples in them, so no rust, easy to turn. And here is the gate attached to his driveway. Anyways, all done. See you again, guys.